renting this campus, who has arrived to Asia's World City. Good morning.
Right, good morning, friends. I see many friends in the room, and I see also friends from Malaysia, from Holland, so we have attracted a bit of an international audience too, which is fantastic. I'm just trying to give you an overview of what this whole thing is, the UN Habitat, the World Urban Campaign. It's something I got to know over the last 3 years, joining some of the sessions by the UN Habitat in various parts of the world, including in Nairobi, where the UN Habitat is based, and an Urban Thinkers campus 2 years ago that we used to try to fine-tune some of the drafts that you see today. And it's an interesting concept, and I'm happy to introduce it to you today and see how Hong Kong can be involved.
So I'm going to share with you something rather academic to discuss about the right to the city. So who has the right to Asia's World City? Very often we'll think that, well, you know, permanent residents, the court rules that the domestic helpers, they don't have a right to our city. Is that what we're going to decide? You know, this citizenship, this issue of whether you are a citizen and therefore you have the right to the city. All right? Now, the discussion about the right to the city, we have to refer to a French scholar, sociologist. His name is Henry Lefebvre. And he has this idea of city as an oeuvre, right? So it's a piece of art. His idea is like this. The city as an oeuvre basically is a piece of art or music or literature. Now the way of thinking of city as a piece of art will be very different from when we look at a city. Very often we look at a city and ask this question like it's a world city. That's why we crown ourselves as Asia's world city. We think about whether it's competitive or not in the world economy, in the global economy. But if we look at city as a piece of art, then the definition of city is changed.
I'm asked to share my experience in founding and operation of Food Lab. I guess it's because the Food Lab as a co-working space does embody some of the city principles, for example, in empowering positive urban development and giving the entrepreneurs and the small people a voice. Just to take account, how many of you have been to the Good Lab? Yeah. Well, actually, not bad. Thank you very much. Okay, so Good Lab is a co-working space and Hong Kong's probably only social innovation hub so far. It's 20,000 square feet. This is what it looks like. Very, very early in the day, but now it's all packed with entrepreneurs, so with each desk representing one small enterprise. We have helped 50 social startups and more than 200 part-time members to kickstart their social enterprises and projects. This is a more social space, a feedback area where they chat and chill and just sound out ideas with other members. We've got a mini theatre, which is probably the size of this space here, and it's good for workshops and all kinds of interesting events. We emphasize dialogues and discussions, and this is our open day where ideas are sold and not food or things to eat. But food is important at Good Lab, because over food, one can really talk about many, many things and make new friends and perhaps identify the partner for your next social project. So this is our pantry and social area. This is another view of that area. It's always full and people will have a happy little hot pot in the winter as well. So who works out at the Good Lab? I would say all these people. Just learned this word from ECAM, city changers. I think city changers are at the Good Lab because they are not very happy with the state of things, and they believe entrepreneurship will bring progress to different aspects of the city, and will also suggest new solutions to the city.
Thank you, Ms. Wong. Now, please allow me to introduce you our moderators for each of the 5 urban thinker sessions of today. Shall we invite them to come forward? For the session of World City versus Great City, the moderators are Professor Li Kang from CUHK and Ada Wong from the Difference Institute. For mainland integration, the moderators are Mr. Paul Simon from Designing Hong Kong and Ms. Ines Mang from the Hong Kong Institute of Urbanism. For public space in the density, the moderators are Professor Hendrik Thiemann from CUHK and Mr. Kenneth Chen from Hong Kong Public Space Initiative. For the session on speculative versus affordable housing, Professor Edward Yu from CUHK and Mr. Ian Brownlee from Master Plan Consultancy would be the moderators. For land hegemony, Mr. Kim Ching Chan from Labour Research Community and Ms. Celia Chu from the University of Hong Kong would be the moderators.
One more.
So on the desk, you can see that you have some post-its and some pens and whatnot you have. We want to ask you to identify 3 key issues that you think is important for Hong Kong in building the city we need to be a great city, basically. So then we'll facilitate the sort of like the 3 key issues that you come up with and see if we can come to certain consensus and identify 3 primary issues that we want to work on. 3 or 4, it depends on how it goes. Okay? So hopefully that will take about 30 minutes or so. And then we'll do where do we want to be. With reference to the issues that we have identified, we would like pull everyone's mind together and think about like, okay, regarding those issues, where do we want to be? What's the ideal situation, in building a city that we need, in building a great city. And now what we can do is that we want you see the post-it on the table. We have some time and we would like to invite you to get out 3 key issues that you think Hong Kong is facing that we need to discuss and focus on in order to build the city we need, the great city that we need. Okay, is that clear? All right. Okay, good. So
We can actually discuss it.
yeah, you can discuss. You can also not discuss if you are very clear about the 3 issues that you want to. But if you want to, like as a group, come up with some consensus before you come out to let us know your ideas, that's fine as well. But if you cannot come up, with some consensus, you are welcome to just, post it, and we'll facilitate in the process and see if we can group them into 3 key areas that we want to focus on. All right.
Because obviously in Hong Kong, one of our main advantages actually is in that diversity of cultures, diversity of background, diversity of training, diversity of views, diversity in our whole country. So, and I think in a way, when we start thinking about home diversity, and then we start thinking about, okay, well, where do we go from here? And I guess this section, at least this group's discussion, is all centered around, integration of mainland. As I said before, when I was first given this topic, inevitably, I think these days in Hong Kong, there's always an emotional aspect, emotional reaction to it. But something that we should not disregard. But when we talk about the whole issue of integration with the mainland, I'm of the opinion that we need to look at it perhaps not unidimensionally or not from an emotional point of view, but more of a comprehensive, something that we need to think about, now, the history and the future. And I think I very quickly wrote down a few points. If we look at the issue of integration of mainland, now mind you, we have not done any research, these are just my views, because I think this gentleman actually talked to me before the start and said, well, you guys presented your views or you have research work done on it. No, I don't think we have, right? Whatever I'm saying here is my views, and whatever Paul is conveying maybe his views. not going to convince you one way or another. I think we want to hear from you in terms of what you think are emotionally important to you, or personally important to you, or professionally important to you, and what your views are as, Mika would say, the city dweller, or someone who is here. And in fact, talking of city dweller, when Mika mentioned the word city dwellers, now I would say, well, what about the visitors? Like, they are here, and they might be here for a few days, might be here longer. Visitors are an important component of the city as well. So, why dwellers in what extent? So I think we need to think about that too. But anyway, integration mainland. In the past, I think we think of integration. We talk about historical, like Hong Kong, as a very small area. It's always been, centuries back.
One problem, I think we mentioned one problem about lack of use of streets.
And if that's like regarding to social use, how do you say everyone streets are
So it's not just on engaging community or.
But I think that's more an indicator now.
Of course, there is.
So in the past 40 years, indeed, the reason why it seems to be affordable was just because they extend the mortgage repayment period. But then, think about it, are there any maximum or longest repayment period of mortgage?
One problem, I think we mentioned one problem about lack of use of streets.
Streets are defined. And if that's like regarding to social use, how do you say everyone streets are
The sort of report back.
Let's look at the first one now. So we have, in terms of land Germany, we have different stakeholders within. So we have the government, we have the developers, we have we have the indigenous villages and the non-indigenous villages, some minority, and the ecosystem and environment. So we look at the interests of the different parties, so we need to balance that out. So in Hong Kong, particularly for Hong Kong, the government, as developer, is very powerful. So in order, we have to monitor them. We talk about having an independent monitoring lands and planning commission, a third party to look at, to monitor what the developers and governments are doing. And then to protect the minorities and the villages so that they are reasonably compensated, because some of the land development we cannot change, but what are we compensating them? And we look at the procedures on how we could balance that in the future. So
at the left-hand side. Okay. Actually, this is a very draft conceptual framework how the monitoring systems should process. We say that this is the interactive platform between government and public to monitoring the development. And this is an independent third party. So first of all, we can get the user needs through district council representative or estate management or some third party or the company to get the user needs. And then based on this user need to develop the monitoring systems and also the development planning. And this monitoring system could be the party inside this monitoring system would include public, for example, urban thinking, urban thinker campus, or design Hong Kong and some public space initiative, yeah. And then second one will be the government, third one will be the media. So after this party have a negotiation inside the system, we will evaluate the planning, development planning, and the executions. So in this part, governments and developers and NGO person would be participating in this stages and give some opinion on the evaluations. Because every planning is not a one-off planning. So they will generate a new need, that means come from here, and go to here again, and to evaluate all the system again to help our city more sustainable.
So thank you very much for being here. This is 4-ish on a Saturday and you're still around, so we are very impressed. I learned a lot from you. CUHK, I think, has a lot of opportunity and potential to take this forward. We have a new Institute of Future Cities, which is very interested in doing interdisciplinary work. So your inputs today are very highly valued. We also have, you may not know that this event is fully sponsored by the Faculty of Social Science. And our faculty is actually doing something which want to bring forward positive social science. So again, that is an initiative which coincides with what we are doing right now. And I'm very happy today to see urban studies students from Hong Kong U and also CUHK. You guys will mingle because you are the urbanists of the 21st century in Hong Kong. And we look upon you as the leaders in the future so that you can take our city's urbanism forward. And also a few words besides thanking our faculty to sponsor this event, and of course a great team. It's so great working with Paul and Hendrik because we just do things sort of like without really a lot of arguments, a very harmonious working relationship. That's really great.
You've got to edit the document.
Except that I really send out a lot of documents, coercing them to do the work. And also I want to thank all the moderators. You guys are great and very helpful and very enthusiastic, giving us a lot of great ideas. And of course, we need to thank all the helpers, whether they